Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I proceed into what I want to say in this debate, I'd like to commend you on your office, and I'd like to share with members of this House, including the legal opposition, some words from the Bible. You know they like to quote the Bible, but I'm also a baptized Christian. So this is what Titus 1:16 says. They profess to know God, but they deny him by their works. They are detestable, disobedient, unfit for any good work. And you know what also? What Matthew 23:28 says? It says, so you also outwardly appear righteous to others, but within you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. That for you is what we have as the legal opposition in Guyana, the APNU AFC. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to commend the efforts of those who would have toiled to get this budget together for us in record time, led by our Vice President, Dr. Bharat Jagdeo, Honorable Edgel, and others. Mr. Speaker, as we are gathered here today in the hallowed halls of this auditorium has a lot of significance in the democracy of Guyana. Just a few months ago, in this very auditorium, was the tabulation center for the recount exercise. In this very auditorium is where democracy was defined in our country. In this very auditorium, democracy is now ruling over a dictatorship. In this very auditorium, I would like to advise the legal opposition of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana that you being rolled out by the citizens of this country, buckle up, because you're going to have permanent residence in the opposition of the parliament. Mr. Speaker, like the colleagues before me, and on behalf of the citizens of Guyana, I would also like to express my gratitude of welcome to the Honorable Mike Pompeo, the U.S. Secretary of State. This country owes Mr. Pompeo a debt of gratitude. He has stood with us. He has been leading the effort. He has been a bulwark against the APNU AFC dictatorship. And we welcome him. We, the free people, we, the people who honor the Constitution, we welcome Mike Pompeo to Guyana because he was involved in the restoration of democracy in our country. I know the APNU AFC is very scared. They're very scared of democracy. It is a globally known fright that they have. Because you know what they have done to, Mr. Speaker? They have embarrassed this country in no mean way with their conduct, their lawless conduct, and if you permit me, their criminal conduct during the course of the elections, election rigging, the dismantling of our Constitution, and their divisive behavior. And as I'm on divisive behavior, this is what the Bible says also, Ferguson. In Corinthians 11:14, you know what it says? And this goes for the warlord and others. And no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. That is the level to which you are treated. You have done much wrong to this country. Too much wrong you have done to this country. And you know, Mr. Speaker, it is possible, many of those that sit over there, practically all of them that, or possibly all of them that sit over there, they have been involved in egregious conduct towards the elections of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And they are now seated in Parliament at the expense of other APNU leaders. They're sitting there seeking shelter from prosecution. But you know what, Mr. President? Jail is jail. Jail is jail. Fraud is fraud. And by the way, as I'm on fraud, you know what happened, Mr. Speaker? I was going through the reports of the ministry and the regions, and I found out that one of the leading, I think is either Lampi or Pampi, it might be Lampi. You know what I found? $12.5 million from Region 5 was used to rebuild the National Gymnasium. Y'all understand what's going on there? Region 5, rebuilding the tarmac at the National Gymnasium. So Lampi has a lot to answer for during the course of the next, whilst these investigations are taking place. And as I'm on that too, do you know also that there was a minister in this house now sitting across the hall in the opposition. That minister, the staff of the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, you know what they told me when I took over there? They said, Minister Nigel, we have to speak to you. So I said, what? They said that those people, they came, one is a driver, one is a guy who was a handyman. He came and said, they both came and said they paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for house lots, and they were promised the house lots in November of 2020. That is fraud, and Ferguson will have to pay for it. That is fraud. Mr. Speaker, the egregious conduct in public office by the APNUFC is littered with scams. The house lot scam, the land grab scam, the airport scam, the scholarship scam, and we've been hearing it every day, the drug mule scam, Mr. Patterson, the constitutional scams, right, Roysdale? The election scam, all of us know, that is a globally known fact. The National Treasury scam, and as a matter of fact, in this year alone, up to the point of this budget, the APNUAFC, out of the $330 billion budget that we have, they have already expended over $160 billion. You will be held accountable for it. So buckle up, because we are going to roll out a plan to investigate every single corrupt activity that all of you have been involved in. And Mr. Speaker, there is also the Chronicle scam. You know, Shara Duncan, the Chronicle scam. And then there is the barbershop scam. So all these scams, Mr. Speaker, we are going to be dealing with.
Mr. Speaker, Standing Order 41. The honourable member is referring to a sitting member of this House by his full name.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, Standing Order 41. The honourable member referred to a sitting member of this House by his full name. I'm asking that it be withdrawn and he refer to the member as honourable member or comrade.
Okay, the Honourable Pampi, the Honourable Sheriff Duncan. I was just referring to you, I was highlighting to all of you the Chronicle scam. That is all I said, and I happened to mention his name. And then there is the sheep in wolf's clothing scam. And you know what also is about the sheep and wolf's clothing scam? Listen to this. Luke 12:2. This is what Luke 12:2 says. Nothing is covered up that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. So everything is going to be investigated, Mr. Speaker. Every single thing is going to be investigated. Mr. Speaker, we've heard a lot of unhinged comments from the opposition regarding this budget. And those comments, of course, they are confused. They are obviously unaware of what has happened. One time, their leader was saying that the budget is his, and then practically every single member across there said the budget is not theirs, and they have criticized their leader's budget. So the equivocation with which these people speak on the other side, totally confusing, lack of understanding, and of course, they have no idea of how an economy works. So here are the facts, Mr. Speaker. In 2019, Guyana fell in the global ranking in the case of doing business by 19 positions to 134 when compared to 2014. Notably regarding construction permits, and the last speaker spoke so highly of their housing program, which I can tell you is a total waste of time. Guyana deteriorated from position 33 to 167 regarding construction permits. You know what that means? That means this is verification that the housing industry collapsed in the last 5 years under the APNU AFC. The worst position though, Mr. Speaker, and you know they have been speaking so glowingly of their investments in the electricity sector. and I concur with my colleague, Minister Indar, on the electricity indicator status, which is an important element. Electricity is an important element in enhanced standards of living of people in communities. This is what the report says. And by the way, this report is a 2019 World Bank report, Doing Business. Guyana is ranked 170 out of 190. We are just above crisis-stricken Venezuela. APNU did nothing for poor people. 91 billion increases in taxes, Indar mentioned it as well. They destroyed the private sector as well because of inefficiencies and their overloaded and corrupt bureaucracy that they had in government. Mr. Speaker, it is easier to do business in Ghana, Uganda, Malawi than it is in Guyana. It is easier to get electricity, construction permit, and to register a business in Sudan than it is in Guyana when the APNU-AFC was in government. Shame, shame, shame on you. Mr. Speaker, cost of living as well has increased tremendously. In the area of non-performing loans, we have been researching all of this all of the time. The closure of numerous businesses, especially small businesses, thousands of collapse in our village economies. People are now poorer. And here why, Mr. Speaker. Excise tax on vehicles dropped 11.3% from 8 billion in 2014 to just over 7 billion in 2019. That means people cannot even afford to drive again. You know what happened? The APNU-AFC ran a donkey cart economy. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of private consumption, none of you would understand what this means, but it's the aggregate spending of ordinary people. It fell more than 70 billion between the 2014 to 2019 period, a 13% decline. People are poorer in this country because of the APNU, AFC, and because of their taxation policies, because of their borrowing policies, and because of their policies to squander the resources of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Less money is now circulating in the lives of poor people in our villages. But you know what, Mr. Speaker? All of this is going to be reversed. We have already begun to reverse it in the last 45 days of our government. As a matter of fact, we have visited hundreds of communities, and everywhere we go, people say, Minister, we are so happy to have you. Minister, we feel so free now in our country. Minister, the things that the PPPC government has done in 1 month, APNU-AFC could not do in 5 years and 5 months. They have nothing to show except getting caught trying to rig elections on global media. That is what the legacy of the APNU-AFC is. They have been caught trying to rig elections in Guyana on global media. And you know what? All those involved, as our president said, we will get to the bottom of it, and all those involved, including Lampi and Pampi, all of them will be brought to justice so that democracy can reign in this country. Mr. Speaker, we have to rebuild lives. We have to rebuild lives, and our government has been very clear on this. We have been very responsive in the last month, and we intend to continue to be responsive to address the needs of all of the Guyanese citizens. Mr. Speaker, at the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, we will oversee implementation of over $51.232 billion. Mr. Speaker, and that includes the 70 neighborhood democratic councils, the 10 municipalities, and the 10 regions of Guyana. And, Mr. Speaker, many of those before me, a few days ago, they spoke about employment. They spoke about employment opportunities were denied. They spoke about how they have provided jobs to people. I have some information to share with Guyana and the rest of the world. This is the information. Just within the regional sector, the regional system, there are currently 1,690 vacancies. And I'll tell you what APNU-AFC did with them. This is what they did, Devon Sears, in Region 10, Honorable Devon Sears. 7 persons were employed in Region 10, just in my sector alone. And I heard others were, another person in this house. One was a petroleum jelly advisor to the former Minister of Natural Resources. The 7 persons in Region 10, they were earning they were earning $1.4 million per month plus. 7 persons in Region 10. Right? And you know what? You know what is worse about this, Mr. Speaker? There is no evidence of their work. So these were freeloaders on the taxpayers. Freeloaders. Instead of them employing young people in Region 10, 7 persons alone. There are 183 vacancies in Region 10. And AP and UFC could have only employed 7 persons. You know what they also did in Region 2? Instead of them employing the thousands of young persons in Region 2, this is what they did. They provided staff, 3 staff. One was earning $306,000 per month. Maybe I should call their name. Another was earning $306,000 per month. And another was earning $231,000 per month. 3 staff. And you know what? No work they did. I'm amazed at how you can come here and stand in this house and defend your ineptitude, defend your incompetence, and defend your corruption. You have no shame, but shame on you, shame on you, shame on you. You know what also, Mr. Speaker? On that Lampi and Pampi show, there is one staff who was assigned as a ministerial liaison in the Ministry of Communities, now the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development. That staff was paid, despite sitting on the Lampi and Pampi show practically every day, $306,000 per month. Some Crichulo is his name. And then you know what else too, Mr. Speaker? There is a staff on the pensionable establishment of the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, earning nearly $220,000 per month, and then is now sitting in the Parliament, totally unprofessional, totally egregious. And we need to ensure that those people, Mr. Mahipal, those people have to be out. They cannot continue to serve the people of this country with that kind of behavior. So, Mr. Speaker, when they speak of employment, those are the facts on employment. So, Mr. Speaker, you know what they also did? You notice when I've been traveling this country, and one of the things we have begun to do quickly is to clean up the country. We have begun to clean up the country. Everywhere, people are breathing now. Community enhancement workers in this country, when we left government in 2015 May, we left over 3,000. Right now, under the AP and UFC, when they were in government, they are 1,579. That is why you find our villages are dilapidated. That is why you find the levels of destruction in our villages. But you know what? I'd like to let the public know and the country know that between now and the end of the year, when this budget is approved next weekend, we will increase from 1,579 to over 2,530. That is employment. That is employment. 951 persons will be employed in addition to what we currently have. So, Mr. Speaker, whilst APNU reduced the cleanup crew in Guyana by 50%, please also note, Mr. Speaker, that they cleaned up the treasury by over 150%. That is what they did, clean up the treasury. Mr. Speaker, we have to rebuild the local infrastructure, creating thousands of jobs in the 10 administrative regions of our country. Right now, Mr. Speaker, we will be spending over $4.8 billion to rebuild roads, bridges, other infrastructure and buildings in our regions. And this is only part of what we will do, Mr. Speaker. So lots of development, thousands of jobs are going to be created, and we are on course to make sure that 50,000 jobs are going to be created in this country. Imagine the spin-off that has happened in this country. In this year alone, APNU has already spent $160 billion out of the $330 billion budget. How many jobs have they created for persons in this country? And then they speak about sugar. But what I can tell you is, everywhere you go in this country, the sugar workers need their jobs back. Their families need food on their table. And the People's Progressive Party Civic will make sure that local economies, village economies, are going to strive once again with the reopening of the sugar estates. We will provide support to sugar workers because you victimize them. You victimized them, you discriminated against them, and that is a travesty which has haunted you and will continue to haunt you because of the sugar workers, because of the tears of poor people. That is why you lost the no confidence motion in December of 2018. And since then, you have not been a government, you have been illegal de facto, and now though, you are the legal opposition of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And you will remain there, so apply for your permanent residence. Mr. Speaker, in terms of community enhancement on the infrastructural program, we intend to spend tens of millions of dollars. The Monreport market that the last government refused to deal with, we will be putting resources there to enhance Monreport market, the biggest market on the east coast of Guyana. We will be providing support to Skeldon, to the Cariveton market too, because we would like to see the services elevated, as we will do in Alboiston, as we will do in East Rheinveld. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that we have to do also in our rebuilding villages is to ensure that the Sustainable Livelihood Program is implemented in a way that ensures transparency and accountability. When this program came to my ministry, Mr. Speaker, hundreds of millions of dollars, we notice, have been missing, and there are absolutely no records of the hundreds of millions of dollars, including, as you're aware now, as common knowledge in our country, the famous barbershop. So, Mr. Speaker, we intend to pursue, whilst we'll be providing support to small and micro enterprises and to small persons to rebuild their lives, we will also investigate, we will be investigating every single dollar, and all those who stole will have to face prosecution. Nigel Dharamlall is saying so. So buckle up, because as my colleague Anand Prasad said, we will be buying lots of shackles and handcuffs for many of you. Mr. Speaker, we will have to review the new dynamics in the different industries in our country, especially in the medical sector. We intend to also support, Mr. Speaker, the local democratic organs. The local democratic organs are in a state of total decay. They are in a state of disrepute, and they are in a state of total disarray because of the high-handedness of the last government, the APNU, AFC. Everywhere I go visiting local communities, meeting with councillors. Only recently, I met with those from Leguan, Mr. Speaker, Leguan and Island, primarily farmers. Last year, they cleaned trenches worth about $8-point-something million they had to be paid. And you know what? That last government that sat, now the opposition, where they are properly seated, that last government refused to pay those poor people in Leguan $8-point-something million. Within 2 weeks of me getting into government, those people are paid their monies. We will provide support. So the subventions to the NDCs will go out, $350 million. The subventions to the municipalities will also be going out, over $100 million, to enhance services. And it will be done equitably. It will be done with real supervision. It will be done to ensure that lives are enhanced in our villages. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that we have to do in our country is to decentralize investment. And one of the things that our President, His Excellency Dr. Irfan Ali, has put forward in his manifesto is to ensure that regional economic development plans are in place. And so, Mr. Speaker, we will also begin consultation with our regions to ensure that the capacity, the capabilities, and the different characteristics of those regions are enhanced so that they can start attracting investment. The problem we have in the last government is that they stole practically everything out of the country. So there was no money to invest in our regions. That is why you find people are still clamoring for jobs in communities across Guyana, because no jobs were, as a matter of fact, 30,000 jobs were lost and more under the APNU, AFC. And we will reverse that, and we will create, I once again emphasize, 50,000 jobs to the people of this country. Mr. Speaker, solid waste management, one of the things I noticed when I was going through the budget, APNU, AFC, they littered this country with waste. They were not concerned about solid waste management. One of the things that we have to do, Mr. Speaker, we have to review the solid waste management bill. It was sitting at the Dry Coconuts office for 5 years. So we have to review the solid waste management bill. And luckily we have the distinguished Attorney General, one of the best Attorney Generals in the history of this country. He will be leading that effort. We now have new industries in Guyana, and Nigel Dharamlall will be leading that effort to make sure that the solid waste management bill is put in place, reviewed and put in place. The Honorable Attorney General, the real Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, so Mr. Speaker, I've been informed that the people have already removed the solid waste out of government. They are now in the opposition. Mr. Speaker, there are many interventions that we have to pursue. Interventions, for example, in Region 1, Mora and Thomas Hill will be doing their bridges. We will also be completing the road from Comaka to Kwabana, and we'll be upgrading roads at Kabarimo and Hosorora Hill. Electricity support, yes, we will have to do it because you didn't do it properly. Manawarin and for Central Maruka, we will have to, Mr. Speaker, we'll be rebuilding many schools. If I go through the list, I need 3 days. This government, when PPP was in government, we built over 800 new schools in Guyana. Not a single new school APNU AFC have built in any of the regions of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. I was in Yarrocabra the other day, Mr. Speaker. Over 800 million they have given out to build a school. People are going to go to jail for what they have done on that construction, Mr. Speaker. They have destroyed education in our country. Mr. Speaker, you know what is the most popular thing in the capital budget of the 10 regions? Sanitary blocks. These people across there, they provided no sanitary blocks, especially for the Amerindian people of Guyana. You have no care for Amerindian people. And that is why they voted against you. And that is why they will continue to vote against you. We will uphold and uplift their lives. We have to rebuild. We have to rehab the Port Kaitumas secondary school dorms. Also the Pakira Nursery School extension. We will be providing quite a lot of support in Region 2, Mr. Speaker. Charity, Riverstone, and Dartmouth, they are going to have massive works done. Roads in Affiance, Charity, Adventure, and Dartmouth 2. We will also be working, again, toilets at Somerset and Berks and at Charity. And Dredge Creek, Dredge Creek is one of the areas that the last government totally disassociated themselves from. We will have to build a landing so that sick people can have comfort in attending at the health posts. Mr. Speaker, a few days before they were rolled out of office, they commissioned the COVID hospital, 1.6 billion without any oxygen. The people of Region 2, we will be providing an oxygen support system in the Oscar Joseph District Hospital. Very quickly, within a few months. Mr. Speaker, in Region 3, we will be doing works in Morrishi, Good Hope, and Hog Island. Also in Leg 1 in Hubu, we'll be building bridges in Hague, Metamirzorg, Bellevue, roads in CI, Windsor Forest, as well as other villages. We will also, Mr. Speaker, I visited Wakenham. You know what happened? And I went and I visited the hospital. The hospital is painted in Docket Green. That is the investment that Mahipal made in the last 5 years at the Wakenham Hospital, painting the facade.
Standing Order 41, Mr. Speaker. The honorable member is referring to a sitting member by his full name again. I made this objection before and I'm doing it again, Mr. Speaker. Please take note that the honorable member is also using some unparliamentary language. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, Mr. Mahipal, you stood on a standing order, which is correct. And have given me a chance to decide what the parliamentary language is. That's standing order. Honorable Member Mr. Dharamlall, Honorable Minister, Local Government and Regional Development. Yes, the standing order does not permit you to refer to honorable members by their name, unless you put honorable member, Mr. You can continue, sir, and as I'm on the floor, I'm giving you the 2-minute announcement, then you can have the 5-minute extension.
Very well, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. The Honorable Ganesh Mahipal, who is a staff, who is a junior staff of the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, and from the Global Brigade. Mr. Speaker, in Region 4, we'll be doing lots of work in Cane Grove, Golden Grove, Unity, in Monrepo, Victoria, Beirut, Friendship, roads, bridges, also in Mocha, in Horstelling, in Covent Garden, in Verningen, in Craig, schools at the New Diamond Primary School, Bladen Hall Secondary, many of you don't know where that is. But, you know, Mr. Speaker, science labs, we have to take our students to the cutting edge. So science labs, Adora, science labs, Mr. Speaker, at BV Secondary, science labs at Friendship, as well, Mr. Schumann, at St. Cuthbert Secondary. We will upgrade those science labs, Mr. Speaker. In Region 5, Mr. Speaker, you know Region 5, Mr. Speaker, I was in Bath Settlement last Sunday, and I found out from the residents of Bath Settlement that every single home does not get water pressure. You know why? Because the engineer in Region 5, rather than working to rebuild the system or to services, is protesting and creating havoc on a daily basis in the lives of the people of Region 5. Right, Mr. Jordan? So we will be working on the sideline dams in Chester, also in Bran, in Golden Fleece, in El Dorado, and in Fowles. We will be working also to do bridges at Jacoba and number 40 villages. Many of you you go there to protest and you don't even know where you are and you're protesting. The people told us that. Mr. Speaker, roads in Hope, Blairmont, Bushlot, number 8 village, Lovely Last village, Mr. Jordan, we will also be doing. Mr. Speaker, we are going to be rehabilitating the Maikoni District Hospital. And as I'm on the Maikoni District Hospital, you know what the last government did? On the COVID, they have totally misappropriated and mismanaged the COVID resources. I found out that they were building 2 incinerators. As a matter of fact, they built 2 incinerators in Region 5, Fort Wellington and Maikoni. And you know how much it costs? I'll tell you just now. Then they built the same incinerator in Region 1. And you know how much the Region 1 incinerator built by the same contractor cost $5 million. More expensive to build stuff in Region 1 because of logistics. You know how much they built 2 of the same incinerators in Region 5 for? $12.5 million each. People are going to jail. I'm telling you, people are going to jail. In Region 6, tremendous works at Crabwood Creek. We'll be doing lots of D&I works also between number 43 to 51. Let's be Holden, Mybe Curie, Letterkenny Bloomfield, Johns Ankerville. We will also be building bridges at Cumberland, Let's be Holden, Yakusari, Johanna. And Mr. Speaker, we have to expand this country. You know, the last government was visionless. They were just sitting there earning taxpayers' monies. So we will be opening up more lands in the Upper Quarantine. So the design for a road from number 52 village to the Kanchi Creek, the design will be done this year, Mr. Speaker. And then we have to rehab roads in Edinburgh, 64, Let's be Holden, also Ankerville, Alness, Bushlot. Mr. Speaker, every region we go to, secondary schools have to be rehabilitated. That last government did absolutely nothing.
Honorable Member, every second is precious, so you're going to have to get an extension.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask that the Honorable Member be given 5 minutes to conclude his presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, you can continue.
Thank you,
5
Mr.
minutes
Speaker.
to conclude.
Mr. Speaker, in hospitals, the maternity ward at New Amsterdam Hospital is a travesty. We will have to do a lot of work at the maternity ward in the New Amsterdam Hospital. The last government, as a matter of fact, the CEO of that hospital was also a staff of mine. he was being paid over $306,000 per month as a ministerial liaison in Region 6. And many of you know who the name of that person is. We will also, Mr. Speaker, be doing some works on the Tuberculosis Care Center at Mormont, as well as rehabbing the Marie Curie Hospital. Mr. Speaker, you know what is, they are going to like to hear this. Guess what is going to happen also this year, Mr. Speaker? We will expand the food court at the National Psychiatric Hospital. That is the Fort Canchy Mental Hospital or the asylum, because a lot of those people are going to be residents there. So we have to make sure that the Fort Canchy Hospital is the food court. In Region 7, the Carabisi Hill Road, also the Camarang to Warmadong Road. I recall when Minister Pauline Sukai, as Amerindian Affairs Minister, put resources there. So that road will now be enhanced further. We will be building bridges also at Kako, from Camarang to Kako, Kako to Camarang. So Honorable Dawn Hastings should not be scared to go and visit. So in case they put her out of the village again, she will have bridges to walk back to Camarang. Mr. Speaker, the teachers' quarters in many schools, Ituringbang, Imbaimaday, Kako, Kangaruma, Isinaru. Mr. Speaker, last government refused to deal with our teachers. Teachers were treated disrespectfully by the last regime. And we have to make sure their conditions are improved. Mr. Speaker, the multi-complexes at Warmadong and at Bartica, we will also improve. In Region 8, Mr. Speaker, millions of dollars will be going to build the road between Monkey Mountain and Paramakatoy. The last government refused to deal with the Amerindian people in the North Pacaraimos, and we have to complete Chenapau and Madhya primary schools, and a well will be dug in Maikobi. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Sinclair, El Paso, and Princeville will now have solar systems at their health posts. In Region 9, millions of 30-something million will be given to enhance their agriculture. Bridges at Mokomoko and Pauishnaw, roads at Letem, Napi, Iowa. Mr. Speaker, many things, the male and female dorms at Anai, again, they have refused to deal with our children. Mr. Speaker, in Region 10, the Retrieve Bridge. Mr. Speaker, the road between Karakara to Wisburg, revetments at Block 22, Honorable Figueroa. So you're not going to be, you were flooded out before, so now we have to make sure we take care of you. The nursery school, Mr. Speaker, at Bamia, Amelia's Ward, Christianborg, we intend to also do rehabilitation work. Mr. Speaker, the Mabura Health Center and the Upper Demerara District Hospital, again, health and education, the last because they enriched themselves off of our taxpayers. They had no care for people living in villages and communities in this country. So we have to make sure, Mr. Speaker, that on a daily basis, we interact with people so we can address their concerns. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development will be filling the gap between the government and the people, and between the people and the government. And I can assure you that moving forward, the people of this country, in our villages, in our communities, are going to get enhanced services, they are going to live better lives, and they are going to be prosperous long before the 5 years before the next elections. And we do look forward to their support as we are looking forward to the support of the legal opposition in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, the APNUFC. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.